Let's make a sandwich collage. You can make your sandwich any way you want. Today we're going to be using some praying medium weight construction paper, a glue stick, markers, scissors, and crayons. To get started, the first thing we'll want to do is remove some paper from our praying medium weight construction paper pack. I've got loads of different colors to choose from. I'm going to pick a couple of different colors for my collage and tear the paper out carefully. I like to open up the construction paper pad completely and then tear the paper out slowly. That way it doesn't get ripped or torn as I'm taking it out of the pad. Once I have a nice stack of construction paper to make my sandwich collage, my first step will be what color will be for my background and what color will be for my table. I'm using yellow for my background and purple for my table. Starting at the bottom of the purple, I'm bringing up the paper just a little bit to make a fold, and then I will unfold the paper so that I have a crease. Using my scissors, I'll cut along that crease, and this will be my table for my collage. You can decorate your table with your markers or crayons. I'm using a loop-de-loop line to create a design for my table. Now for my background paper, I think I'll make a design there too. Using my markers, I'm drawing a vertical line to create a pattern, and that pattern is called stripes. So I'm making a striped pattern for my wall, and now I'm going to add a little bit of glue on the back of that purple paper so that I can stick it or adhere it to the yellow paper. So now I have a little bit of purple. That's going to be my table, and then the yellow is the wall and the background. Now I need to decide how big the plate will be to hold my sandwich. So I put little dots on my paper, and that helps me decide how wide my plate will be. Then I connect the dots with an arch line like a rainbow. And then I have one that looks like an arch line like a smile. When I use my scissors and I cut out the plate or anything that I cut, I always cut very slowly and carefully. Now I have a plate to hold my sandwich, but I've got to get it to stick, so I'm just using my glue stick to go around the edges, and then I always like to massage or rub the paper a little bit. That gives the glue something called grab time. That way it will really stick to the paper. Now we're ready to begin our sandwich. Now let's make the bun. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to fold this paper in half because I only need half of the paper. And using a crayon, holding it on its side, I'm rubbing the paper to create a light texture. This is what I'll use for my burger bun. So if you want to create a texture, grab yourself a crayon, hold it on its side, and rub the paper a little bit. The reason I folded my paper in half is because I don't need the whole piece of paper. I'll set aside that other sheet for another day. All right, so I want my burger to be, or my bun of my burger to be the width of this paper. So I drew a polka dot on one side, and then straight across, I drew a polka dot on the other. To make the bottom of the bun, I'm making a very large letter U, and now I'm making a horizontal line that goes from one side to the other before creating the top. And I like to put a little bit of a dip at the top of the bun. Now I'm going to use my marker to draw some little ovals to create sesame seeds. And if you're thinking, boy, that is a really large burger bun, here's why I like to draw and cut things out really big. Because if later I decide it's too big, I can always draw or cut it out a little smaller. But if I make everything really teeny tiny, I can't magically go back later and make it bigger. So always start larger because you can always cut it down smaller. I'm only going to glue the bottom of the bun to the plate, and I'm going to set the top aside for a little while. Now let's work on my favorite part, which is the ingredients. You'll notice I folded and cut my paper again because I'm trying to save some of that paper. And I'm going to do something called a fringe cut. So I'm going to fold the top of this little rectangle that I cut out. And I'm going to cut a series of lines that only go to that fold. The fold is my stop line. I'm going to crunch that paper a little bit, and would you look at that, I've got a fringe, which for me resembles a little bit of shredded lettuce. I'm going to make a couple of these, and then as I do that, I'm going to think about all of the different ingredients I like to have on my burger. So I do like to have some lettuce. Think about what you might like to have too. Maybe some cheese. I'm going to fold and cut this paper in half because, again, I'm trying to save some of that paper. And I'm going to cut out long strips of paper by using a vertical line that starts at the bottom of the paper and goes up. And with this, I'm going to do a zigzag fold. So to create a zigzag fold, you're going to fold the paper once and then fold it back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until you have a zigzag. It's really cool. And you know what it reminds me of? Not only does it remind me a little bit of shredded cheese, but it reminds me also of crinkle fries. Maybe for my next sculpture, I can have a plate with fries. Okay, let's see. I also love pickles on my burger, so I'm adding some of those. So imagine and think about all of the different ingredients that you might want to make. And as I'm cutting those out, I'm cutting slowly and carefully. To me, they kind of look like buttons. And I definitely wouldn't put buttons on my burger, but we're going to pretend that they're pickles. Notice I haven't glued anything yet. I'm just cutting out all of my ingredients and I'm getting it ready. Now I'm going to cut out some little curved shapes, maybe for some peppers. Ooh, if you like it spicy, they could always be jalapeno peppers. How about some tomato slices? Now I think I need to think about the actual burger itself. I'm going to be reaching into my stash of some of the paper I've already used, like for the bun. Maybe color this brown a little bit and put a polka dot on one side and the other to create a nice thick oval for the burger before I cut it out. Remember, the more ingredients you add, the more interesting your burger and sandwich collage will be. In fact, I'm even going to take a piece of paper that's white and cut it into a circle to make an onion. To do that, I'm cutting around and around. Notice how my hand is rotating or turning the paper as I cut. And would you look what's happening? I'm creating an onion shape. Ooh, what if I add maybe a little bit more lettuce to my sandwich? So I wanted to add a little bit more texture, and maybe this one I'm going to have a longer fringe. The choice is yours. You are the artist. And now I think it's about time for us to start to assemble this burger. To do that, I'm going to put my glue stick at the top of that fringe, not the whole fringe, just at the top, so that it still continues to pop out. It's totally up to you the order in which you want to glue your ingredients. But you have a lot of paper at the top of your collage, so make sure to stack your ingredients up nice and high. Sometimes what I like to do is lay everything out on my collage before I glue it down. It's always a good idea so that you know where you want to place things. When an artist thinks about where they're going to place something, it means they're thinking about their composition. So thinking about that when it comes to your burger is pretty important. Now that you've got all of your ingredients that you're starting to put together, I know you're getting excited about how awesome this collage is starting to look. Now might be a good time for you to think of, what could you name your burger? You've designed and come up with this amazing burger. What could its name be? The deluxe? The super duper deluxe? Oh, you know what? I just realized I should have added bacon and maybe an extra patty. There's so many different ways you can go about creating this amazing sandwich collage. Don't forget, when you're all finished, to put glue around the edges of that bun and stick it to the top. In fact, I think I even want a little olive on top. I hope you had so much fun creating your collage using your praying construction paper. Thank you guys for joining me today. Toodles!